Meant to Be Well Summit is created by three incredible women, Ambreen, Valerie and Andrea. The main objective is to bring together experts from around the world to raise awareness about the importance of holistic well-being. This summit aims to explore the multidimensional aspects of well-being, including physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This isn't just any event. It's a unique, global summit marathon designed to cover all time zones across the globe. We created this event because we genuinely care about you. We believe that everyone deserves to thrive and live a life of well-being. This summit isn't just about learning, it's about transforming your life. Our speakers are dedicated to inspire, uplift, and help you tap into your full potential. Join us, and let these world-class thought leaders guide you toward a higher level of mental, physical, and spiritual well-being.
Good. I'm so happy. Hi, everyone. Another session is starting, and this will be a longer one. We have 3 speakers in the room, and they will be sharing with you. I'm so happy to have you all with us. People in the audience, please just stay tuned and be engaged in the comments, and make sure that you are asking a lot of questions. I know that you will enjoy the session, and have some fun, learn a little bit more about well-being and mental health from a different perspective. You will know this session is about DNA and a little bit about how it can, knowing your real DNA and knowing the treats, what's coming with it, how it can help you to build up a better well-being, a better awareness. And I'm welcoming Peter already. He's with us almost every session from Malaysia. So nice to have you here. Again, I emphasize, please have your water, walk around. I know that you are hardcore 48 hours with us, but please take care of yourself. And also, hi, Alchan, and thank you so much for being here. I will be in the backstage, and I will give the stage to the 3 amazing speakers here, Sharm, Cedric, and Ting. And I am so happy and appreciate you for being here on a Saturday morning. So let's do this. Enjoy the session and have an amazing connection.
Evening, everybody who's tuning in to this wellness summit. It's a truly amazing thing. It's the 2024 M2BW Meant to Be Well Global Virtual Summit Marathon, and today is the second day. And we are so excited because today we have a couple of experts in the field of DNA. So before I do, let me just introduce myself. I am Sharm Siva. I'm a coach and trainer. And I've been with Andrea with this wellness summit, with the summits the past few years, and it's been very, very enlightening. I may have led panels, but I am the one who's learned a lot. So today I'm looking forward to learning a lot from these 2 very special people. And before we start with the actual discussion, I'd like them to introduce themselves about what they've been doing this past few years and how they've come about to actually co-found this organization that they lead. I'll start with Cedric. Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Sharm. Hello, everyone. My name is Cedric Lee. So I'm based in Singapore right now, and I'm the founder of this health tech startup called Connecting DNA, together with Ting, my co-founder. So the whole purpose of Connecting DNA, as the name implies, is really to help people connect their genetic traits to personalized wellness products and services, right? So we want to be the bridge, the digital bridge between your nature and then to nurture. Because life is not about nature versus nurture. Life is really about nature and nurture, right? Thank you so much, Sharm, for inviting us.
Thank you. So good to have you here with us. Ting, let's hear a little bit about you.
Hello, good day to everyone around the world. Hello, Sharm. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm Ting, co-founder of Connecting DNA. For me, I've been in the DNA industry for 15 years. I've seen the power of genomics, how the awareness of it can help us plan our life and make informed decisions. So when I also know that once we know ourselves, we need to find solutions. Then I met Cedric, and he has this mission about connecting DNA to let more people know about their DNA and also their solutions. So that's where I joined him in this journey, and now I'm the co-founder of Connecting DNA. Together, we want to give people the ability to plan and design their life through knowledge.
I just can't wait to hear more from both of you. Now, we know that there are many challenges in life, both physical and mental and emotional as well. And sometimes people get into a very helpless or hopeless situation. And this is one of the beacons, or shall I say, the light at the end of this very challenging tunnel that has appeared with modern inventions and creations. So, Cedric, can you share examples, okay, of how tailoring solutions to someone's DNA can help address health challenges?
Okay, that's a great question, Sham. Now, first of all, we must all recognize that we are all born with one set of genes, right? And this set of genes don't change. It's really like our genetic blueprint. So once we're born with it, right, that's it for life, right? And we only, in this lifetime, we only have this one set of genes, right? Unless it mutates, and then that's not good news, because obviously mutation is a higher likelihood of cancer. Right. And the thing is that when we know the genes, we are actually able to know how our life and even our personality functions. Right. So let's say, for example, someone may have genes that has a higher tendency to getting stressed out. Right. There are genes for that. Right. And then if you know that is your genetic tendency, then don't put yourself into situations that allows you to stress out easily. Right? Or maybe if you really are working in a situation that makes you stressed out, then adopt some strategies like meditation, mindfulness, walking away when a conflict happens. That will allow you to manage your life and your emotions more effectively. Even, for example, for nutrition, okay, which I think later Ting will cover. Every one of us, even though biologically we are 99.9% alike, okay, is that 0.1% that makes so much difference. Because what Sham you may need in your diet, let's say for example you need more iron, right? Then eating maybe needs more iodine, maybe I need more vitamin D, right? Is different, right? What we need biologically is different, but when we feed ourselves what our body needs, okay, then our bodies can function optimally. And I've seen people who have gone through what's called personalized lifestyle and personalized nutrition achieve remarkable results with their health and their well-being just by giving their body what their body wants. But the biggest problem these days, right, is that people don't understand themselves more. They don't understand themselves enough, sorry. They only go through health screening once a year. And when they go through health screening, what they are checking for is not their natural tendencies. What they're checking for is just their current health state. And the current health state changes year by year. But if they can find out about their genetic tendencies, their DNA, which again doesn't change because it's a blueprint, is so much more powerful on how they can design their life instead of by living by default.
Yeah, maybe I add an example to what Cedric has said. Like for myself, right, I really hope that I could turn back the clock and do my DNA test like 20 years ago. Because since young, right, I've always like felt like cold fingers, cold toes and all that. And I didn't know why. Even when I saw a doctor, they just told me to like manage it by myself. Yeah, because there's no medicine for it. So yeah, I actually knew about my DNA thereafter that I actually need more iron in my body because apparently my blood cells, they had some odd shape. So I did that and I top up more dark green leafy vegetables, basically plant food that is high in iron. And yeah, soon, like about half a year later, I realized that I actually don't have this problem anymore. So knowing about ourselves, right, helps us to take targeted approach to our own well-being.
Wow, this is so interesting, Cedric and Ting. And the fact that you said that it's only like 0.1, I mean, 1% that, it's that's really going to could affect you, because we are more or less similar in 99% of the ways. I remember reading a study by the Mayo Clinic, and they said that 70 to 80% or more of our illnesses is due to stress,
Yeah.
And then it was like, I think it said only like 5% possibly could be due to genetic reasons. But now that you've said that maybe this 5% or 1% could really affect us in so many ways, it just makes a lot of sense, and that's really, what shall I say, mind-blowing to know that. And I think the wonderful thing that both of you are doing is you're providing a way where when someone who's helpless or hopeless with the situation, the physical or mental challenges that they have and don't know what to say, as we all know, when you go for a regular test, it just gives you a very superficial answer to what you could be going through, and you have to go into depth, and you wouldn't know where to go into depth unless you have a fantastic doctor, right? But DNA is coming to help everybody, the doctors, both the doctors and the patients. So that sounds really good. So Ting, can I just ask you another question? Can you share instances of how nutrition, like you said yourself, that it helped you? And I think that's so good because you are a testimony of how DNA can help somebody. Can you share another instance or instance of two of how nutrition has helped one of your clients or customers?
Right. So not only for myself, we also have one client. Actually, her name is called Erica. She was actually diagnosed by the doctor for hypothyroidism. Yeah. So in the end, right, what she was told is actually she needs to take medication for life to balance her thyroid hormones back to normal. Then she didn't want to do that, so she did a DNA test. And from her DNA test, it actually unveiled that her body needs more iodine than other people. So how to solve that in the most natural way? The food that is high in iodine, right, is actually seaweed. So what she did, she really went to buy seaweed and snack on it every day. So along the way, she went to see her doctor, do the test and all that. 6 months later, her doctor discharged her, say she doesn't have to take medicine and doesn't have to come back. So that's really great because she has found a targeted way to help her body return back to baseline and she can live normally.
Wow.
If I may just also add to that, Sharm, if you don't mind. So now there's actually what Ting said about Erica is awesome, right? Because I met Erica before, but I also have a personal case about nutrition that I want to share. Right. So for me, I have been struggling with eczema, chronic eczema, for easily about 70% of my life to this date. Right. So, and I do know many people out there are also struggling with eczema and they cannot find relief. And it's a horrible condition to have. Right. So I used to wake up late in the night, 3 a.m. every night just to scratch, right? And it's bleeding. So I realized that the condition of my eczema was the root cause, the trigger was gluten. It was actually food that I didn't know all along since growing up, right? And I love my bak chor mee in Singapore. I love my breads, my noodles, my pastas, and I've been consuming them. I didn't know that it's actually creating so much inflammation in my body, and this inflammation is resulting in eczema being manifested on the skin as a sign of imbalance, right? So, and when I knew that through doing a DNA test, or rather I happened to do a DNA test, I changed my diet. I changed my nutrition. I cut gluten away from my diet. And within about a month, or about 3 weeks now, the condition that's been with me for the past 30 over years just went away. I couldn't, even the doctors when I go to previously, right, they didn't tell me that, oh, you should be using nutrition. They just say, oh, take steroids. But in a way, we self-taught ourselves to a cure. So that's something I think is very remarkable. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. You two are a testimony to how DNA testing does work. And it's interesting because a cousin of mine has psoriasis, and it's like crazy, like similar to eczema. It's like scratchy and it just drives you crazy. And to actually know that something could help you with that. And I go to eating as well. Just imagine just taking seaweed and 6 months later, she's cured of all that mental and physical discomfort. That's truly amazing. And Cedric,
that's why people say food is cure, right? Yeah, if you know what to eat properly. Yeah,
I think that's what our ancestors actually, both
exactly.
in our Chinese and Indian ancestral stuff. I mean, like we know that they knew what to eat when better than we do right now, right? If you see the West is emulating, a lot of the West is emulating a little bit of the the spices, the food styles, the food habits, even the lifestyle, like you have Tai Chi, Qigong, and then you have yoga on the other side. It's because our ancestors knew that it's not so easy, it's not so superficial, that we have to really go into depth, into what could be, not just don't address the symptoms, but address the cause, Yeah. So Cedric, I mean, that relief that you had from eczema, I mean, you said 30 years. I mean, that's a long time. I have eczema as well. Not as bad as you had for 30 years, but I know what it's like. And yes, they always prescribe a steroid cream for me to use. And as you know, steroids, if you take it internally, it's got its own side effects, right? So yes, Cedric, could I ask you some more about stress and mental anxiety? If you could share some cases. I mean, like you said, your own case, when you're so physically troubled, it's going to affect you mentally and emotionally as well, because you can't really function to your best. So in your case, or in cases that you've dealt with, can you share a little bit more about that?
Sure, I'd love to. Okay, but before that, maybe I want to quickly reply to Chan's AI's message, comment. So yes, Chan, actually you can use DNA tests to find out about your allergens, your possible allergens. But of course, medically, you can go to a doctor and you can actually get a doctor to do allergy test as well. But I think for DNA tests, if you do commit to one, and it need not be a medical one, it can be a consumer graded one, like Circle DNA and so on and so forth. It actually reviews a lot more traits that you can know about that, which then leads to the question that Sharm is asking now about mental resilience and mental well-being, right? On a genetic basis, right? So we all know that fundamentally genetic factors do play a significant part in how we cope with stress. I think earlier we mentioned that. And fundamentally, it's all about balance. Because, when let's say we are not feeling well, emotions is at stake, and it's all about hormones, right? It actually creates inflammation in the body. And when it creates inflammation in the body, that's when long enough, right, your body as a so-called biological machine will receive a lot of wear and tear, and slowly will try to break down. And as it breaks down, all these diseases, cancers, diabetes, all this is actually symptoms to an imbalance internally, which may also be triggered by mental. All right. So there are genes. There are genes like the MAOA gene. There's also genes like the COMT genes, or even the 5-HTT-LPR genes. I know these are very profound scientific words. Just Google for them. Right. They plays a role in shaping our mental resilience. So literally, there are some of us with a higher expression of such genes is able to be what we call more fighter when it comes to challenges. So people who have higher expression of certain genes like this, when they get setbacks, when they get stressed in life, in career, in anything, right, they can fight through it. They are called the warriors, so to speak, the fighters, right? But people with certain weaker expression of certain genes, they actually tend to think a bit more, all right? They tend to not take challenges so lightly, right? And they tend to ponder. May not be a bad thing, because people with such genes who they tend to think more. Yes, the risk of anxiety is higher, but at the same time, it also meant they put in more thought and they think more deeply, right? More deeply before they actually take action. So fundamentally, there's no good or bad gene, so to speak. Everything is about understanding your genetic tendencies and finding that balance to navigate your life, right? And then once you do it, right, with the right strategies like meditation, like diet, nutrition, everything, then you are able to achieve that balance. And then again, not just restoring your mental wellness, but also your biological well-being as well. So I hope that answers the questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, please go on, Ting.
Yeah, just to touch on that point, just now there was also the topic about allergy and all that. I'd like to add on that part, right? It's not only allergies, but a lot of times we are sensitive to different things, like sensitivities, like low lactose tolerance, low tolerances, low caffeine tolerance, low alcohol tolerance, so on and so forth. So we can always go through the pain, like already get the illness, then we look back at what we are intolerant to. Or the other way is to just do a simple DNA test and then know what we are not tolerant to, and so we can take preventive actions. Yeah.
Right. Thank
Because
you for that meeting. Yeah. I recently met somebody whose son-in-law had a major issue of, he was just suffering with persistent sneezing, like really, really bad sneezing. And he was a pilot. So that wasn't really comfortable for him. And his mother-in-law said that he went through umpteen tests to find out what exactly was he allergic to. Now, am I right in assuming that it could take just one DNA test to figure out, or is it as extensive amount of tests before you get the answers? Cedric, both of you, I don't.
Okay.
Actually, I would. Oh, maybe I go first. Actually, I would say that having a DNA test gives you more data and let you be more aware about yourself. I do have one client, it's quite unique. He actually, like, whenever he goes to like a dusty room or something, right, he will just sneeze. After that, when he did a DNA test, right, he realized that actually his sensitivity to dust and mold is actually much higher. So actually the fix, right, can be quite easy because he just tried to like have his like aircon in his house, right, washed, serviced, and then the problem went away. So I mean, solutions could be as simple as all these, as long as we know we have a direction to solve it. Yeah, Cedric, to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ting. Now, I'll say end of the day, guys, DNA testing, if you decide to do it, you take it as an investment. And I also do understand that a DNA test is different from a health screening test. And DNA tests, there is medical graded ones, and then there's consumer graded ones. And the analogy I would use is comparing medicine to supplements, right? So medical graded DNA tests are typically you only can get it from a hospital, relatively pricey, but you can claim under insurance, and they typically only test for disease risk, risk of diseases. Whereas for consumer graded one, typically you get a broader range of insights, not just disease risk, but nutrition, personality, so on and so forth, right? But at the same time, it's also relatively cheaper. So whatever you take, do understand that DNA testing you just need to do once in your life. And if you're only doing once in your life, might as well go for one that gives you the maximum number of insights. Then you can actually use that to plan for your life, right? But health screening is something that's also very, very important. Health screening is about talking about how every year your health status is like. And your health status could be different every year, depending on what you do in life. So both are actually really important. So, to answer your Sham's question, DNA testing, yes, it's interesting, but it's also an investment because there's also a cost to it, right? But also I want to answer Peter Ong's question about allergy to curry. No, bro, I feel you, man. I mean, I love curry, right? So being allergic to curry, I think it sucks. But then again, I'm allergic to sensitive to gluten, so that's not much better because you can't pair bread with curry, which is my favorite. So I think more importantly is about finding out, it's not curry per se, because curry is made out of all the different spices. It's by understanding which spice inside that curry that you are sensitive to. And that could mean you may want to do a more in-depth allergy test that may be different from a DNA test, right? This allergy test will then identify the specific spice that you may be allergic to, or the specific chemical compound that you're allergic to. And then if you can identify that trigger, then you can have curry spices without that ingredient, and you can still enjoy the flavor of curry. Yeah, so that's my advice. All right, back to you, Sham.
I was muted. Yes, thank you for that, Cedric. Now, I mean, I can understand the advantages and the change in somebody's life just by having this knowledge and this. It's like, when we go into corporate situations, they call it profiling. In here, of course, it's genetic profiling. But, when you get to understand your colleagues and stuff like that, it's easier to work with them and deal with them, understanding yourself as well. But this is more in-depth. Because it's on a very deep level of genetic profiling. Do you find that you have more corporates interested in this kind of profiling? Cedric?
Sorry, your question is, do
you find that companies are interested in investing in such profiling?
I would say hopefully that's a future trend because I think
I would think so. Yeah. Especially the CEOs, especially the leadership.
Yes, because Eating actually has been doing a lot of good work with our corporate talks, so-called business channel. So she's been helping to spearhead the initiative where we go to organizations, insurance companies to give talks to allow people to understand more about their genetic impact, and that genes are not set in stone, right? But it's about understanding the inside the genes and using lifestyle and proper food and nutrition to create a positive outcome. And that is definitely true also for employee productivity. Because I'm very sure that at the end of the day, a lot of us here, we are business owners, entrepreneurs, we have teams. And the best thing we want for our teams and for our company is for them to be productive and be healthy, right? Because they say a healthy and a happy employee is a productive employee because they don't take MC and they don't take sick leave, right? So that's important, right? So how we want to achieve them and do it is that we tell organizations that, look, if you can help your employees understand themselves better biologically and genetically, you can actually identify certain health risks earlier so that then you can use certain preventive measures to correct it. It can be through exercising, can be through no dietary restrictions, can be through eating healthy food, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, for productivity, if we understand a person's or a staff propensity, say for stress, or whether they're creative, whether they're introvert, extrovert, whether they're good with numbers or languages. Now imagine if, let's say, you are a employer and you know that your employee has this certain talent in creativity and numbers, wouldn't you deploy him or her into a role that's better positioned for him? And if he does well in that role and you recognize that, he'll be happier, the organization will be better, right? So everyone wins. And even if, let's say, if it's not under the mandate of the organization to do it for the employee, right? If the employee does it himself and he can find careers suited for his genetic talents, he will definitely lead a more fulfilling life. And he will lead a life, I dare say, by purpose. Because in a way, again, when we're born with a set of genes, is in a way is what like is given to us by God, right? So when we live our life according to our genetic talents by design instead of by default, which is what the world wants us to do, right? Everything changes. That's what we believe in.
Yeah, to add on to Cedric, right, is when we do a DNA test, knowing our personality and our talent, it not only helps us develop us in the career direction that we feel happier. On top of that, recently I do have one client, right? He actually used his DNA data to help stress relief. So he's been in this person, right? He's been in the marketing industry for the longest time. And then he just like felt stressed and a bit burnt out. And when he did a DNA test, it was quite funny. We actually worked together, right, in a tailored path, and then showed that what's his ideal career path. Surprisingly, one came out, which is called gardener. Then I was like, oops, how come there's a gardener? But after that, right, he actually told me that, hey, actually his hobby is actually arranging flowers, flower arrangement in the pot. And then because this thing came out, right, and then he really embraced it. And now every week he will arrange a different pot of flower in his house. And he said that was so stress relieving. Yeah, so that's a way that we can actually use what we are born with. Just be aware of it and then make good use of it.
Wow. Both Cedric and Ting, that's so interesting what you have just both shared. And Ting, I want to just comment about it. If you know what you're born with, I think that would make career guidance something to look forward to in the future, where they incorporate DNA testing, because the problem that a lot of youngsters have is to know what to do after college. After school. It starts with after school, which line to go in. And if you understand yourself better, you will help your parents help you to go to a better path which resonates with you within. That's so interesting, Ting. And Cedric, about the corporates and what they could improve on with the employee productivity. And I remember Peter Drucker, the leader in management, used to say that it's important to know who does what well. And that's leadership is who does what well. This very profound statement that he said. And I think I feel that what you have just shared with us is something that could really help, because sometimes, because there's so much information, so much things to think about, overload sort of, it's very difficult. People are finding themselves, as they say, connected on devices, but not connected with each other. And people are losing that emotional intelligence kind of feeling even when they're interviewing people, they need to have that extra edge to choose the right person, because as a lot of people say, you should choose slowly and fire fast in business, right? So it's so important to choose the right person. And I can see the future going towards this profiling that could help, not everything, but could help with deciding who could be a better person to add on to your company. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting. Cedric, would you like to share a little bit more about maybe some, I love your title of who you are, DNA storyteller. So I'm sure you have lots of stories, and we just love stories with a happy ending. So can you share maybe another one or two stories that where you have seen with your own eyes, where DNA testing has improved the life or transformed the life of somebody?
Yeah, so I'll say honestly, Sharm, DNA testing itself, we all heard about it for quite a few years, but it's still a very, very new field, because a lot of people, they just don't know what to do with this information, right? And a DNA test report, if it's done from a comprehensive and reputable company, a consumer graded one, if it's printed out right, it can actually be this thick. I don't know how to, like, I don't have a book around me, but it's actually around this thick, right? So it's like, it's a thicker than a Bible, right? But we call it the Bible of a person's life.
500
right?
pages.
500 pages, you're right. So it's too much, right? And that's what we're trying to do with Connecting DNA, is we're trying to simplify knowledge for consumers to understand. And then from there, they are able to make meaningful decisions and choices about everything in their life. Again, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, career, and so on and so forth. And through this, there are so many examples that we can share, but and beyond like what we just said. But I'll tell you, but this few that we share is already the best, one of the best. Those that we want to share more, maybe we need a bit more user consent, which right now, we don't have. But I would want to take this opportunity also to share this concept that I think everyone should know about, which is called the genetic multiplier. And this genetic multiplier stems from the concept where our genes fundamentally is not set in stone. Because these days, right, when Eting and I and our team goes out to talk to people, easily about 80% of the people, even those who have done the DNA test, will tell me that, Cedric, my DNA test tells me that I have a higher risk of lung cancer. And therefore, I'm going to just smoke what I want, eat what I want, enjoy life, because I'm going to die anyway, right? So, and when I heard that, I was like shocked. Hey, no, you shouldn't be doing that, right? Or there are some people who tell me, Cedric, I don't want to find out about my DNA, because what happens if I find out that I got higher risk of getting dementia or whatnot? That makes my life miserable, right? So all this stems from a very fixed mindset, which being life coaching should definitely help them. But that's a different topic. But again, why we want to tell people is that your DNA is not set in stone. And how the genetic multiplier works is that whatever is in your genes is magnified by the actions and the decisions you do in life. So I will use an interesting analogy and an example between the three of us, maybe to come up with this concept, right? So let's say Eating and you, Sham, you guys are twins. Okay, I know you don't look alike, but let's say imagine you guys are twins, right? And being twins, you're biologically the same, genetically the same. Okay, and let's say your risk of getting lung cancer is a multiple of, let's say, times three. Okay, so for me, obviously I'm different. I'm not related to you guys. So my genes, let's say, gives me a high likelihood of getting cancer, unfortunately. And let's say my genes gives me a times 10 multiplier to getting lung cancer. Okay, so now, so yours, remember, two of you are times 3, mine is times 10, right? But let's say both of you, let's say Eating, she's very healthy. I know she's very healthy. She eats very healthy food in life, right? She doesn't really smoke, she doesn't whatever. So her lifestyle of healthy living, or also unhealthy living, is only maybe if accumulated maybe only for 5 years. 5 years, right? So now, Sham, you are still also very healthy. But let's say maybe you love some guilty indulgence occasionally, right? So and that maybe gives you a unhealthy life years accumulated, maybe 7 years, right? So eating was 5, you are 7. So remember, I know it's a bit of math, guys, but just remember that, right? Try to. So eating is 5, you are 7 in terms of unhealthy life, right? But genetically, you're both 3. Now, me is a 10. I'm a 10, right? So let's say if I'm a 10, and people will assume, hey, Cedric, you're 10, you're most likely to get the lung cancer the easiest and the earliest. But let's say I'm a super health freak. I'm like Brian Johnson, right? I take fruits and every day, I sleep well. And let's say maybe mine translates to only just unhealthy living of just 2 years, for example, 2 years. Okay. So now imagine, let's say now in terms of calculation, right? So eating is 3. 3 times 5, right? Is 15, right? So now, Sham, you are also 3, but 3 times 7 is 21, right? So for me, I'm super healthy, right? Even though I'm super high risk. So mine is 10 times 2, right? 20. So I will still be slightly less than you, even though genetically, right? If you are better than me. But if let's say I really go crazy, right? I reduce my unhealthy lifestyle to just 1, right? As a multiplier of 1 lifestyle. So means my final score on risk is only 10 times 1, which is 10, right? So that is the suggestion on people shouldn't just decide their genes is going to be determine their lifestyle. They should use their lifestyle to control the expression of their genes. And I say that because my mom passed away when I was very young through lung cancer. And she was the healthiest person I knew at my age. And I was so surprised that she had lung cancer. And in retrospect, we found out that it was actually because of an environment. She doesn't smoke. She eats healthily. The only trigger was that she was used to be a fashion designer, and she's staying in a factory that has like dust and like the
Fumes, chemical
fumes and
fumes.
fabric, right? Yeah, eating those, right? And I think she probably breathed that in, and that triggered her genes. So this is what we want to share with everyone, Eating and I, that don't take your genes as a fix in terms of you cannot control. You can control it, even though the instruction is there, but what you do later part matters as well.
Right, I'd like to add that always use our genetic information as an empowerment. I give you an example. We also have a client. He actually is this super property investor, right? So he didn't really like study till really high, like university, masters. He doesn't have that. However, he just is good at property investment. Then he wants to share his knowledge with more people. He has been giving talk, but he always felt very anxiety and all that when he goes up the big stage to address many people. But however, after he did a DNA test, right, surprisingly, there's one part that shows that his desire to like give back to society, that means his empathy is high, and then his ability to speak to language talent and his daringness, it's actually high. It actually does suggest that he can go up stage to share to big crowd. So since then, right, he has already like given 2 talks that's like about 1,000 packs. And that actually, knowing his innate traits, give him this strong confidence, right, to go up to the stage to talk to more people. Ultimately, he has all the knowledge. He just doesn't have the confidence. So now with this, right, it gives him the confidence to go up to speak to more people. And more people are benefiting. So I'm actually very happy for him for that.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. I mean, by just knowing that he had the courage to go up, and
he has it in him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he never knew, right?
Yeah, he never
And
knew. He just
he
thought
would
that.
have gone on with life. Maybe later,
Yes.
perhaps he would have gone up to speak. But that was so nice to know that he could do it because it was innate in him.
Yes.
And Cedric, it's so cool that you mentioned. It's so important that you mentioned. It's not just the knowledge that you get from the testing, but how you use it. And if we have it and we don't use it well, we could be as bad as someone who's got really bad ratings in our test, right? So very important that, because my dad was a diabetic before he passed away with diabetic related stuff, and the doctors have always told me that me and my siblings are high risk diabetics, and it's kind of playing out that way. But of course, and now we know that with good nutrition and how we how we look after our lifestyle, we could change it or could perhaps minimize the risk to it. So that's totally, I understand that. We got a couple of questions. Eating first. Why you call yourself Eating Architect? Is that destiny? Is that destiny that your name sounds what you were meant to be in this life? I know so many people would have asked you that, but it seems like it's serendipity and destiny for you. What do you say?
Yeah, I also thought so, because like from young, like when people call me Eating, then I'm like, oh, okay. Then the part about when I was working in USA, right? Like I tell people my name is Eating, and the next thing they'll tell me is don't joke. Then I said it's true, but it's spelled Eeting. Yeah, so we actually use this, right? Because we want to have like a name to what we do. Like Cedric is DNA storyteller. So at that time we were thinking, what name should I give myself? And I'm very into nutrition. I really love like how to match what different foods to enhance our immune system, to get the goals that we want in life. So in the end, after we like discussed between Cedric and myself, we also discussed with ChatGPT. In the end, we decided that since I like to plan the meals, we should call ourselves, I should call myself the Eating Architect. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah, we always want to inject fun to our life.
I think that's so important, right? Fun is so important. Whatever happens, if we have a fun, psychologically, it's been proven medically as well that the more fun we have, the better we feel. We can even heal faster from what we have. So I totally agree with that, Eating. Yes, and by the way, what does eating mean in Chinese? Just to let people know, so they don't think it's about food.
Okay, so in Chinese, right, Eating is like very docile, very what's the translation? Basically, it's a very nice lady.
I can believe that. Totally. Your parents knew what they were talking about when they named you. Yes, wonderful. Yes, Cedric, my final. There is a question from Sin Fong. Hi, Sin Fong. Sin Fong's in Australia, and I don't know if he's landed in Malaysia. He was supposed to come here. Good to have you. So, can you perhaps address Sin Fong's question?
Yeah. Hi, Sin Fong. Hello from Singapore. So, okay. So your question is, can DNA tests tell what is installed in the future world? So kind of like you're using fortune telling, right? So I would say that it can give you a glimpse of the potential for the future, your future, in a biological sense of it. But in a more spiritual sense, in maybe a bit harder. Now, why I say that is because it's also our belief that end of the day, our consciousness and our biology is different, right? So, and if you do believe in things like I don't want to go into like too spiritual, but if you do believe in things like like reincarnation and stuff like that, then of course the spirits will always be persistent, right? But our biology is what we're born with, and this is actually what we're born with, and we only have one body in this lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And it's about, and a DNA test is about understanding the specifications of your body. So whether your body is a F1 Ferrari car, whether your body is a BMW, whether your body is a Cherokee QQ, whatever, no right, no wrong, right? But every one of us are born with different biological traits and specs that they in a way give us some pointers on our purpose and what we should be doing in life. And some of these specs, which includes like personality, which includes like fitness, nutrition, give us insights on how we should lead the life to get the kind of outcomes we want. But someday, even like if you guys do Bachi, numerology, feng shui, astrology, they in a way they tell you, say, okay, maybe in the next 5 years you may be like this, your life may be like that, but it's never certain one, right? Everything they say is in a way just a point of guide. But whether end of the day, whether that year is good or not for you, very much also depends on your action, right? So
Right.
if they're a guidance. So same thing for genetics, right? For DNA tests, once you understand, it then understands about your health. Because end of the day, let's say you may say, oh, I want to do Bazi to know my wealth. I make a lot of money next year. But if you do make a lot of money next year, but you neglect your health, and then you have poor health, that's also not good, right? Yeah.
Just to add to Cedric, right? I mean, if we inject a bit of like math into this, right? So it's actually nature. That means what you're born with, the 23 chromosomes from your dad and your mom, right? Each multiplied by nurture equals to the result that you have in life. So in a way, once you know, you lock down the variables, you know your nature, what you're born with, then you can direct and empower yourself in the right direction for nurture, like your lifestyle choices, what you eat, do you sleep? I mean, like, what time do you sleep? Like, do you drink? All these, right? Do you exercise? So that you can control this nurture part equals to the result in life. So kind of once you know your starting point, you're in control of your eventual result in life.
Thank you for that, Cedric and Eating. And there's another question by Yuva. Can unfavorable traits in our DNA be modified or altered?
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so this is also to the point that I mentioned. Nature multiply, nurture gives you the result in life. So we do not want to talk about DNA modification. Yeah, that's a bit of ethical issue. What we want to talk about is once you know your starting point, it's a genetic multiplier. You can choose to take actions to achieve the results that you want. Okay, take for example, like for me, my body's ability to absorb iron is actually lower, right? So in order to compensate that, I actually increase my amount of plant food that's high in iron so that I don't get that cold feet and cold toes from then on. So I can actually engineer the result I want without talking about anything about alteration about DNA.
Okay, thank you for that, Eating. We are running short of time, perhaps have a few minutes more. My final question to you is, Cedric, and of course to Eating as well. I think you mentioned about insurance. I'm interested to know that insurance covers testing. This is something interesting. So far, how has it gone? I know you're speaking from Singapore, perhaps, but other places as well. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, good question, Sharm. So I would actually just like to also take this opportunity to highlight that any of you guys who are interested to understand more, including insurance, you can just check out my LinkedIn profile. We do come out with newsletters, or I used to write in the past, and all this actually covers that. So now on the topic of insurance, now I know a lot of people are worried about doing DNA testing because they are afraid that if they do a DNA test, and then it will affect the insurance premium. So the reality of it is that it would, because there is a lot of strict regulations with insurance and the government in different countries, right? So in Singapore, it's MOH, and the insurance providers, where unless you're buying a very expensive premium above $500,000, right? And if the DNA test that you did is a medical graded DNA test, means administered by doctors and hospitals, then you will be asked if you have done the DNA test. If yes, then you must surrender the information. But if you are doing a consumer DNA test, right, like Circle DNA, 23andMe, or many other DNA tests out there, which is considered in the wellness realm, right, which gives more data, right, that is safe. Because that the MOH don't recognize. And again, if your insurance premium is below $500,000, then it's fine as well. But I think more and more people, and we also work with insurance agencies, more and more people are starting to realize that, hey, if I know about my certain risk, yes, I want to prevent it. I know my risk is high for certain cancers, right? Better buy early. Because if you buy early, your premium is lower. And then when it touch wood, if it does happen, right, you're covered. Because the worst thing in life, I'll say, is to be sick and not have money. So I'd rather be sick and have money through the insurance payout than sick and be poor. Right. So yeah, that's what I end it with.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's certainly been a very enlightening conversation, and thank you to Cedric and Eating for your wonderful contribution to this discussion. I'm sure a lot of people have got, it's been an eye-opening a few moments, and it's so wonderful to know that something is there for people who have been helpless and hopeless in trying to diagnose what's wrong with them. You have seen the transformations. Both of you are transformations yourself. And thank you so much for that. I'd like to hand over to Andrea.
Thank you so much, guys. I think this was amazing. If you are rewatching this, please go back and make notes. And it's always, this is a 48-hour summit, so you will not record all the information that you are listening to. So it's very good to, for example, just schedule these sessions in the next few days, rewatch them and digest them properly on a slower pace, and then make the most out of it. At least you take out one thing from one session and then you try to actually put it into your life. You don't have to do all of it. Just one month, you change slowly. Remember, you don't have to stress out because we give you too much information. It's a well-being summit. Take the information, digest it, and put it into your life in your own pace. And if you want to reach out to Cedric or to also e-eating, just please do. I share the LinkedIn profiles, also Sharm's. So please feel free to connect with them. They're working very hard to spread awareness about this new tool that can help you to enhance your well-being and life. And I think it's amazing. It's also interesting, right? That you find out things about yourself and you get more confident because it's written in your DNA. Sometimes when we say it's not working, but it's written in your DNA, maybe you get this urge to actually do something about it. So thank you so much for today. Thank you for those who were listening, Yuva, Peter, and Simfong, and all the guys from Malaysia, Singapore. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those who are watching later, please write your comments, write your questions. We will get back to this and we will answer everything in the chat later if you have questions. So wrapping it up, jumping into another studio because the next panel discussion is starting. Last thing, I want to thank you, Sharm, for leading the conversation. It's always a pleasure to have a Toastmaster. I always say that because it just makes it so amazing and smooth. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the
here.
opportunity, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Andrea. Thank you,
Everyone.
Shah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.